Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2021-22 season. My name is Dan and welcome to another Monday afternoon / evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to another Monday strategy stream where we talk about a little bit, I guess reacting a little bit to the action, the football we've just watched, thinking a little bit about how we move next, maybe having a little bit of a rant and complain and be a bit salty about things that haven't gone our way, but also celebrate the good things as well, because that's what it's all about at the end of the day. So, guys, it's been an interesting game week, hasn't it? I say interesting. I mean, for me, it's been a horrible game week. I say horrible. Look, it could have been a lot worse, a lot worse. But it's just been a very, very strange game week, and I kind of want to, I guess, debrief on it a little bit today and debrief the game week and kind of talk about some of the things that happened over the weekend and maybe how we should respond to that as FPL players. I think that's what's the most important thing of all, is how we respond to it. And this is not a game week that I would respond to in a typical way, how I would usually, respond to a game week. So, I'm going to try and talk all about it. Quickly, we'll say hello to some of the people in the chat who I recognised. We've got a couple of mods and members. We've got Jeremy here, Justine is here, Moises is here, FPL Phillips is here, and a few other people. Thomas Sheen, James Craig, loads. Yixie is here. Of course. What's up, guys? Right. So first of all, let's just debrief. Let's debrief, and maybe we'll answer some questions as we get a little bit later on into the stream. So you can see my score was not very high this game week. 57 points, which is a significant red arrow. It's not a great one. It's not a great one. And there's a couple of things to talk about. I guess the first thing I'll talk about is my transfer. So I transferred out Benrahma for game week 5, and I transferred in Rafinha. Now, obviously, you guys will know that's a net loss of 2 points, and also I spent the transfer as well. So I've lost 2 points there, which is not really it's not really ideal. But, and this is what I want to say. But this game week was strange. And one of the reasons it was strange was because of the Rafinha-Benrahma dynamic. And fair enough, some of you guys will have both, some of you guys will have neither, some of you guys will have one or the other, right? When you looked at the Rafinha performance, it was good. You kind of feel a little bit disappointed that Rafinha only got 8 points because he played fantastically. He was creative. He had some really big chances to score that he didn't score, and obviously he scored a chance that perhaps he shouldn't have scored. But overall, in that game against Newcastle, it was a very, very open game, and we probably watching that game, we expected there to be a lot more goals than there actually was. To be fair, a lot more goals. It was kind of surprising to see. Well, I'm not saying it was a low-scoring game, but it was open enough for a few more things to happen. Rafinha also, getting subbed off when Leeds needed a goal. Injury problems in the background there, of course, which was not ideal. So yeah, it was kind of strange in the respect that we thought Rafinha would score a few more points. And Bamford owners, I think we can say a similar thing here. Bamford owners, I feel like you guys should feel a little bit shortchanged as well, because going into that game, the openness of the game, it was all we predicted correctly that it would be an open game and that we'd want to capitalise on some of these Leeds players. And it was that open game, but there wasn't enough output, really, was there? So Rafinha owners, Bamford owners, I feel like you should probably feel like a little bit disappointed. You got a little bit of a hard deal there. You probably deserved a few more points than you actually got, particularly Bamford. 5 points. 5 points from Bamford in a game like that. He should have been scoring a lot more points, but it is what it is. I suppose with Bamford, there is some slight disappointment with Bamford. He's not playing at the level I guess a lot of us hoped he would play. That's kind of always what kind of put me off. I don't think he's an 8 million player, really, so it's difficult. But, Leeds do still have some nice fixtures, so there is that. All right, so I'll talk about Benrahma quickly, because he's the player that I removed from my team, and then we'll talk about some of the other players around the Premier League. Benrahma is a difficult one, because I thought he played reasonably well, but was the shot on target? because you guys may have seen the goal. Obviously, Benrahma took a shot towards the Manchester United goal. It came off Varane's leg and pings into the back of the net, kind of wrong footing De Gea as well. When you look at the behind angle, when you look at all kinds of angles, really, and although the block was fairly close to Benrahma, to me it looked like the shot was off target. And if the shot was off target, then that should never have been given as a Benrahma goal. It should have been given as an own goal. Benrahma would have the assist, and Benrahma would have 5 points instead of 10 points. And that is the difference. Whether you think that shot was on target or not, obviously there's going to be a variety of different opinions. I imagine most people who have Benrahma would say that the shot was on target. Most people who don't have Benrahma will probably say the shot wasn't on target. But look, it's one of those things, and it's an example of variance, and that's something that I want to talk about a lot today. Is variance, and in my opinion, whether you think it was on target or not, the Benrahma goal was fairly fortunate. The fact that he's then gone on to get 3 bonus points from that game, fortunate again. And therefore, I know people are just going to say in the chat, salty, why are you being so salty? But it's important that we actually do talk about this. It's important that we talk about this and try and use this information for future game weeks. Because if you're for example, you're bringing in Benrahma off the back of, he scored a goal last week, that's really good. On another day, that's not a goal. On another day, that's it's not deflected and it goes wide, or it's not deflected, De Gea saves it, or it is deflected but it's given as an assist. Some days it doesn't come off, and it's important that we do recognise this. So yeah, I feel a little bit shortchanged, and anyone who did take out Benrahma from your team, and there will be a lot of you out there, you should feel a little bit shortchanged, feel a little bit disappointed about that one, because it was a strange one. It was a strange one. But yeah, there we go. So yeah, Benrahma was a strange one. Rafinha was a strange one. I think Bamford was a strange one. There was a lot of strange ones around the Premier League, I feel. So another one we can talk. A few people have already mentioned about Trent Alexander-Arnold. Nobody knew anything, but Trent Alexander-Arnold comes into the team. Well, you expect him to come into the team. He wakes up on the morning of the game and he feels ill. Basically calls in sick. He still did want to play. Apparently he did still want to play the game, but they said, no, Trent, you're ill, you can't play today, so you're not going to play. And then suddenly everyone's, Trent is going on the bench for everyone, which works both ways, which is very disappointing. But for some people that means a player like Tsimikas, who nobody thought in a million years was ever going to get another game, Tsimikas comes back to the team. In fact, most people who had the opportunity to remove Tsimikas from their team did remove Tsimikas from their team. For example, you guys on a wild card, there'd be no chance Tsimikas is in any wild card teams, right? So you should kind of, I don't know. That was a strange one, and he comes on, he gets the points, fair play. And there was a little bit of information that Tsimikas would be playing before the deadline. So fair enough, guys. If you stayed up to date and you still had Tsimikas in your team, you were able to take advantage of that. But there's still, a kind of element of luck there. Other people had players like Livramento coming off the bench. Livramento was playing against Man City. Everyone thought that there's no chance Livramento keeps a clean sheet. People locked him in third on their bench, but because of the rotations to Torres, Trent Alexander-Arnold, very, very unlucky if you're owners. But then it kind of felt like after that it kind of went to luck a little bit. So it was a kind of an odd one. But yeah, guys, fair enough. If you kept Tsimikas in your team and you managed to pick up the information that it was going to start before the deadline, then absolutely fair play. You can't say fairer than that. But a strange one indeed. We've then got who else? By the way, on Trent Alexander-Arnold, because I know a few people are asking in the chat. It does seem like he is going to be available for next game week. But obviously we'll keep an eye on that. But it does seem like he is going to be available. So definitely no panic transfers out for Trent, certainly at this stage. Anyway. So another person people have been mentioning in the chat is Sarr, because Sarr is going to be the big knee jerk of the week, right? And Sarr is kind of an interesting one because I perhaps overlook Sarr a little bit, but at the same time, that Norwich versus Watford game, that was bookies' favourites to be the lowest scoring game was the lowest scoring game. It was meant to be the lowest scoring game. You know, I think the predicted score was something like 0.7 versus 0.5. So both teams not really expected to score more than one goal, and it produced the highest scoring player of the game week. So look, Sarri's obviously a fantastic player. Norwich have shown that, you know, even in those more, even in those easier fixtures on paper, easier fixtures, that they still can't really do very much. But that was sort of anticipated to be in one of the lowest scoring games of the week, and it produced the high scoring player of the week. So yeah, look, like I say, I perhaps overlooked Sarr because he does have some fantastic fixtures, and you know, he's an absolute quality player, and he produced some of the best numbers of the week as well. So absolutely fair play. People who did, you know, get in on that, then fair play. He looked really good, really good. So yeah, I know that's going to be the knee jerk of the week, but fair enough. That's actually not a bad transfer, but perhaps a little bit unexpected. Maybe not. I don't know. So yeah, who's another player people were chatting about? Tony, another massive troll this week. This is what I'm saying, guys. There were so many trolls this week, right? Tony. So most, I don't know. I don't want to say most, because this might get offensive to some people. But what I would probably say is most serious, very very serious FPL managers would not necessarily have removed Tony, but wanted to remove Tony. Tony would not, going into that Wolves game, Tony would not be a player that most, you know, very very serious FPL managers would want to have going into that game week. Again, Tony becomes, one of the highest scoring players of the game week, right? Crazy, absolutely crazy. People who have sold Tony and he's popped off. People who didn't sell Tony, you know, I was seeing people on Twitter say the only reason I still have Tony is because I couldn't afford to get rid of him. I had other players I had to remove from my team, so I just had to keep him, and I just got blessed with a score. Is it luck? Oh, I don't know. It's a penalty at the end of the day, so yeah, you got to put a bit of luck factor in there. Wolves, what happened to Wolves? They were producing such good defensive numbers, right? And gone in an instant. You guys who have Wolves defenders, I was going into that game. So I have no Wolves defenders. I went into that Brentford game. I watched it live, and I was thinking, oh my god, I'm so jealous of people with Wolves defenders. I was so jealous of those of you. But you got mugged off. You got mugged off because Wolves, suddenly very bad, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are probably quite worried because Wolves did not look good. Defensively. So yeah, there was another one. There was the Jota. Jota misses a sitter. How often does that happen? I told you I'd be ranting in this game. Jota, I don't know what the XG on that chance was, but I would imagine it was very very high. Jota should be scoring that goal every single time, and he doesn't. He blasts it over the bar. Another bit of misfortune, I suppose. Ronaldo owners. Now, for me personally, Ronaldo, I wanted him to score lowly because, basically because in the top 10k. Can I be bothered to explain effective ownership? Probably not. But basically, I would lose rank if Ronaldo did well, even though I had him, because so many people captained him around my rank, right? So Ronaldo owners, even though I wanted him to do bad, you guys who did captain Ronaldo, for example, or you have Ronaldo but you're at a slightly lower rank, you wanted him to do really well. How unlucky was he to not get, particularly the penalty, penalty that could have been, that should have been. I think it was Sofal that tackled him. That should have been a penalty, shouldn't it? You did, but it wasn't given. It wasn't given. So you can feel very, very unlucky. What else? Because by the way, guys, I'm not just saying this whole game week was unlucky, because it is in part down to, some poor management from me. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I had doubts about Jimenez going into the game, and I've got even more doubts now. I'm beginning to think that Jimenez was just a bad pick, and that's completely on me. That's not a luck factor. That's completely on me, because Jimenez, unfortunately, just doesn't have that confidence right now, and you can see it when he's on the pitch. You feel like he should be being a bit more aggressive. You feel like some chances that he's come his way, Jimenez 1 year ago would have finished those. He's come back from a very serious injury. He's not quite. I don't know. With strikers, a lot of the time they do need to have. That confidence as well to keep them going. So maybe I should have waited on Jimenez and not just looked at the fixtures, but instead looked at kind of, see if he could get a little bit of form going as well. Because the underlying stats always look good for Jimenez. He's taken so many shots, and I think he's taken the most shots of any player in the Premier League this season, but he's not converting any of them. He's being fairly creative as well. We've got a super chat here, so I'll read that very quickly. Anurag says, locked in my transfer, Torres for Gray, and saved the money for an upgrade next week, -4. Now I think it might have been too early to lock in a transfer. It's always too late to lock in a transfer on a Monday, I think, unless you're playing price changes and things like that. But, fair enough. I don't think that's a horrible transfer. I don't think it's a horrible transfer. But, guys, I don't want you to think I'm sitting here saying, oh, I've just been unlucky this week. I've just been unlucky. Now, this week so far seems to me like the week where luck has been the most prominent, maybe. I think, often things go the way you expect. Sometimes things don't go the way you expect. You get strange injuries, you get strange score lines, you get strange benchings and rotations and stuff. And there was strange, strange players scoring and all kinds of things. And this kind of felt like a week where it was more prominent than it was in game week 1, 3, 4. And it happens. It happens. In many ways, it's a cruel reminder that luck is a huge part of FPL, and FPL is a game where it's better to be lucky than to be good. It's better to be a lucky kind of guy than to be a very, very good strategic FPL manager, if you like. But yeah, like I said, there were some players in my team that I shouldn't really have. Brownhill, I picked him from the start of the season. Not a great pick. As it turns out. Ayling, picked him at the start of the season. Hoped that he would do well for a few game weeks. Not been the one. Leeds have looked atrocious. I knew Ayling was going to be playing centre back. Wouldn't even get any attacking opportunities. I was praying for a clean sheet. It was never going to happen in this game, realistically, was it? So, I can consider myself lucky to get a Duffy assist, right? So, some things went my way. I guess you could say that, couldn't you? But it's guys. Someone said in the chat, you make your own luck. Yeah, you absolutely do make your own luck, and I completely agree with that. But do you make your own luck by if you're keeping like, for example, if you've kept Tony in your team, because you can't make the transfer, you can't afford to upgrade him to Bamford, or you have to use a transfer elsewhere, and you can't transfer out Tony. Is that you making your own luck, or is that you not making your own luck? I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, it was a strange one. Greenwood is another player who is kind of dropping off a little bit with the emergence of Ronaldo. So we know he's not a great pick. But yeah, I'm not saying he's not a great pick. He's not an amazing pick. He's an okay pick, but he's not an amazing pick, as he was certainly at the start of the season. We kind of knew that was going to happen. But yes, all in all, it's been an odd game week, and I think the whole point of what I'm trying to say here, because there is a point to it. I'm not just ranting on for no reason, because I do want these streams to be useful rather than just cathartic. The message here really is to not use game week 5 as too much of a basis of your decision making. So, for example, Man City failed to score. That doesn't mean that Man City's attack is bad now. We could say all kinds of things like that. Ronaldo only scored 6 points, but had an insane game. He could have had a hat trick in that game if you include the penalty shout. He really could have. So we can we can think about that way. Don't think about removing Ronaldo now just because he's only scored, that amount of points. He could have scored so many more. He's still a really important player to have. Shakalaka Mekaleka, my favourite name in the whole chat, has got a super chat here. Says, who will keep more clean sheets this season, Liverpool, Chelsea or City? I believe the answer is City. But it's probably going to be tight. All of them are great defensive options. And by the way, the defensive meta is big, right? I think it's time to get some big defenders in. I think wildcard is going to be the wild card is going to be such an important chip to have in your back pocket. I'm really eyeing up this game week 8 now for a wild card, really, because the main switch really was to hop on those Chelsea players in game week 7, but I think it can wait till game week 8. And I think the most important time to own Chelsea players is game week 9, 10, 11. So as long as you've got your Chelsea players in by game week 9, or all of the Chelsea players that you want, you've got them in by game week 9, I think you're all right. We've got a super chat here from Dominic Ward. He says he's taking a -4 for Torres, Jimenez out, Antonio Gray in. I'm scared of not having Cristiano Ronaldo. Villa, I have Lukaku. Is it worth getting Cristiano Ronaldo and then back to Lukaku, or hold out? Don't want to fall behind. I kind of get what you're saying. I think is it worth it for 2 weeks? Is it worth 2 transfers for 2 weeks worth of points? Maybe not. Especially when you're also 2 transfers and -4 points for 2 weeks worth of points. I'm not sure that I would do that, to be honest. I would just stick with Lukaku, really, because everyone's going to want him. Everyone's going to be in 2 weeks' time, Dominic. Everyone's going to be so jealous of you that you've got Lukaku already. And it's only 2 game weeks to wait. Not very long. Well, I mean, really, we're game week 6, so it's 1 game week to wait, really. Most people are going to be trying to get in Lukaku from game week 7 onwards. So you only got to wait 1 game week, really. You're in a good position, mate. And thank you very much for the very generous super chat as well. But there we go. Right. What else can I say? I don't want this whole stream to just be me ranting, but I did warn you guys it was going to be a ranty stream. Sometimes it is going to be like that. And, to be honest, when things go right, maybe I should be more sympathetic to the things that have gone wrong, because it's very easy when things go wrong, for you it's very easy to say wow, everything's terrible, but it's not. I need to remind myself that I'm still in a very good position, really, and I shouldn't just be sitting here complaining, because I'm ranked 14,000th, and that's a significant drop from where I was, but it's still very tight at the top. And a lot of people would absolutely love to be 14,000 by game week 5. I mean, most people, if you asked me at the beginning of the season, Dan, if you want, you can either play the game as normal, or I can just put you in the game at game week 5 at 14,000 rank, or game week 6 at 14,000 rank, I would snap your hand off. I would say, oh my god, yes, give me that immediately. I would absolutely love that. And I'm sure a lot of you guys would feel the exact same way going into the start of the season. So I'm not in a bad position. I think the meta will return. Hang on, let's just quickly do this super chat from Maverick. He said, glad I didn't remove Ben Rama. I had to get rid of Gundo for Rafinha. Sitting top 3k. Now, assuming Rafinha is injured, should I go Gray or Sarr? Well, don't assume Rafinha is injured at all. But I don't know. Gray or Sarr, either one works. Both of them are good picks. I think really that maybe Jota is actually the midfielder to remove. We're looking at my team anyway. I think Jota is potentially the guy to remove, just because Firmino is back in training. He's likely to replace. He's likely to be replacing Jota in on the Liverpool team. So Dominic says, hello again, just scared because Cristiano Ronaldo's go-to captain this week. I'm thinking of captain Antonio. I think Salah will blank. Brentford look good. All right, Dominic, let me try and put your mind at ease, because I don't think you need Ronaldo for your game week 6 captain, because there's someone else. I'm going to go on my pick team page and show you how I'm lined up at the moment. There is someone else, and he goes by the name of Michail Antonio against Leeds. Incredible. West Ham looked really good. West Ham looked really, really good. Even against Manchester United, they've looked really good in every game I've watched them play so far this season. And Leeds look very, very poor. Defensively, they are so open. They've got defensive injuries. They're gonna, they could have more injuries. In the case of Ayling could be out, Rafinha could be out, and if they've got more defensive injuries and none of the defenders are coming back into the team, then what we're going to find is that Leeds continue to play a very high octane, very attacking brand of football against a team that is much better than them, which we can't really say the same thing about Newcastle, but West Ham are much better than them. So Antonio is absolutely a completely viable captain, in my opinion, for Game Week 6. He really is. Chrono Wiz says, been watching your channel since last season. I brought in Sarr and Rudiger for Game Week 5 and had 80 points. Oh my god. You're number one in Singapore. Well, I mean, you can't... I don't know if you want to give me any credit for the Sarr shout, because I've not been hyping up Sarr. I mean, I've acknowledged him as an okay shout, but I've never been someone to hype up Sarr. I was in the Rafinha camp, that Rafinha was the best player to bring in of the game week. But fair enough, you've done it. Maybe you need to take a little bit of credit for yourself. Well done, man. Rudiger, fair enough. I've been singing Rudiger's praises as the most nailed-on defender in the Chelsea side, but I could have never predicted the goal. Goy says, who to take out, Duffy or Veltman? It makes more sense to take out Veltman, I think. Slightly more expensive, you can get a bit more for your money. You can't really get much for your Duffy money, can you? But yeah, as long as Duffy stays in the team. Someone said that Morpay scored. Well, if you want evidence that it's a weird game week, I'll direct your eyes to Morpay. Maybe I should bring in Morpay. What are you guys saying? Who says no? Jimenez to Morpay. No chance. Absolutely no chance of me doing that. No chance at all. Torres, yeah, that was an unlucky one, isn't it? But, like I said last week in my buy, sell, keep, avoid video, if a player doesn't play 1 week in a rotation team, that makes them more likely to play in the following week, not less likely. So the fact that Torres didn't play in Game Week 5 actually makes him more likely to play in Game Week 6. Just a shame about the fixture, really. Well, the fixtures, Chelsea and Liverpool back-to-back. It's not ideal, is it? So you might want to consider removing Torres either way, really. But I don't know. Chelsea have conceded a few chances over the course of the season. So a team like Man City could potentially do it, break it. Someone says I should do Ronaldo to Morpay. You are absolutely joking. It's never going to happen. Never going to happen. Dominic with another super chat. Dominic, dude, thank you so much. But save some of those pennies. Thanks for your advice. As always, I agree. Leeds look poor defensively and Bielsa won't change. Antonio Hall incoming, mark my words. Loving the content. Oh, thank you, Dominic. I appreciate that, dude. Yeah, Antonio Hall incoming. I think those of us who kept Antonio for 1 game week only, we probably felt a little bit shortchanged because of the bench situation or whatever. Maybe it benefited you. Who knows? But if it didn't go well for you and you do have Antonio on your bench still ready for this game week, then advantage you, advantage us, advantage all Antonio owners, because I tell you what, those who don't have Antonio, who removed Antonio, they are going to be rushing to get him back into their teams, believe me. Thank you, Andy, for the super sticker there. What else are people wanting to talk about? So in terms of Torres replacements, in the knee-jerk mindset, we are really talking about Gray, Decore. I don't forget Decore, by the way. I do like Decore. I think he's playing some really attacking football, looking really good in the right positions. He's playing as a much more of an attacking midfielder in this Everton team. But Everton desperately are missing, a Calvert-Lewin, a Richarlison. They're really, really, they're really missing those players, which kind of was, yeah, they really got put to the sword against Aston Villa, didn't they? Wasn't great. But yeah, James Craig says Dennis came off my bench as an auto sub. This is what I'm saying. It was such a weird game week where basically whatever you had on your bench defined your game week in many ways. Well, no, not just that. Yeah, I mean, weird. It's just weird. Just odd. I do think there are some lessons to be taken. For example, the defenders are, look really worth their weight in gold at the moment. I think that's definitely a lesson to be taken. And, from game week 7 onwards, you've got to get yourself a Chelsea defender. From game week 8 onwards, you've got to get yourself a Man City defender and play the defensive meta. Get those defenders in. Some people I mentioned in the chat, Ben White as well. Guys, do you remember? Oh, I've got bones to pick with you guys. A couple of weeks ago, I said Ben White was an excellent shout to bring into your team. I think I put him in my... Did I put him in a wildcard team or something? Or a couple of wildcard teams? And then kind of mentioned him in streams as well as a good player to bring into your team. Everyone you laughed at me. Who's laughing now? He's got back-to-back clean sheets. If only I'd sort of followed my own advice. To be fair, I would have much rather had Ben White in my team than Luke Ayling. I'm kind of wishing a little bit that I'd had gone for Ben White from the start of the season rather than Ayling. But I mean, I nearly did. And he would have. To be fair, I would have probably mistakenly played him, and maybe I would have lost in the long run. But yeah, certainly the best one of the better 4.5-ish kind of defenders to go for, right? Someone on the chat says Ben White and Dennis came in for me. Whoa, guys, honestly, I've been punished with my bench of what was it? Brownhill, Banadeli, and I guess Ayling, Duffy. My horrible bench. Well, I mean, I had Antonio on my bench, so I didn't even have a full bench. Unreal, but fair enough. Bonnie says we're still laughing because you don't have Ben in your team. Man, I don't have Ben White. I don't have Ben Rama. Missing out. But it's fine. Guys, please do like the stream, by the way. Forgot to say, if you don't mind liking the stream, I really do appreciate it. And if you're watching this non-live, you're watching this on catch-up, please do like the video as well if you're enjoying it. Someone said to me on Twitter that the streams are always better when I've just had a bad game week. That they're always a bit more entertaining. I don't know if that's true or not. I think part of the fun of watching YouTubers in general is that you get to ride the wave with them. You see their ups, you see their downs. I'll tell you what, guys. If I did a stream yesterday, I was fuming. I didn't even watch the Chelsea versus Spurs game live because I was just so annoyed by FPL. It's taken over my life, guys. Liam Healy says, when are you wildcarding, mate? I'm planning a game week 8 wildcard. I'm pretty confident about that now. As long as I can get rid of Jota by that point. Sorry. As long as I can get rid of Jota by that point, when Liverpool play Man City in game week 7, then I think I'm pretty happy. But I'm thinking about removing Jota this week, to be fair. But yeah, that seems to be a good move. I think maybe Jota to Sarr, just not necessarily because I like Sarr the most, but because I'd quite like to cover his owners and make sure his owners don't get too far ahead of me in many ways. And then we'll reassess on the wild card. I don't think Sarr. I would say that Sarr would be kind of a 2-week punt. We'll just have him for the what is it? Newcastle next and then Leeds for Watford. I think that's right, but don't quote me on it. I know he's got 2 really nice fixtures, and there'll be 2 really nice fixtures: game week 6, game week 7. Then see you later in game week 8 when I do my wild card. Dominic says, what's your plan with Trent Alexander-Arnold? How long term after the wild card? Trent Alexander-Arnold is a set and forget type player. I really think so. I really think he is a player that you just put in your team and you keep in your team and you don't. He's arguably the best FPL assets in the entirety of FPL. And I know he didn't play last game week. He was ill. People get ill sometimes. They come back to normal. He's not going to be out long term or anything like that. And when he is fit, he very, very rarely misses a game. Very, very, very rarely misses a game. So it's not something that we're going to expect to happen frequently. Certainly not. So when he's back, even against teams like Man City and Chelsea, he is going to be such a priority. All right, take a sample of 5 game weeks, right? You can have a player who has 5 good game weeks, or you can have Trent Alexander-Arnold who has 2 difficult games and 3 easy games / medium games. Trent will still outperform the player with 5 positive game weeks, because when he is in those slightly easier games, or even when he's not, he's picking up clean sheets, he's picking up assists, he's taking free kicks, he's taking shots on, he's the most creative player in the league, and also playing for one of the best defenses in the league. He is a player you just keep in your team and you don't even think about it. Same goes for Salah, especially the form that he's showing right now. Shakalaka Makalaka says, thoughts on 7 to 7.5 mids? Nothing. There's nothing there. There really is nothing there of interest. It's annoying because there is so many premiums, but so few 7 to 7.5 million midfielders. Again, that leads us back on to Trent Alexander-Arnold. He's 7.5 million, and he will outperform all of those 7 to 7.5 million midfielders. He really will. So yeah, an absolute set and forget player in your team, as with Salah there. And this is kind of why I'm not, a lot of people will go for a game week 7 wildcard and remove their Liverpool players. I'm not going to remove my Liverpool players, even if I did go for a game week 7 wildcard. I'm not going to remove Salah. I'm not going to remove Trent Alexander-Arnold anyway. So, and since those are the main players with the game week 7 difficult game, I hope people wildcarded game week 7, and I hope they remove Salah, and I hope they remove Trent Alexander-Arnold, because I'm definitely keeping them either way. And game week 8 is actually a slightly nice swing. I can keep Ronaldo against Everton in game week 7. That's not a problem. Lukaku will be playing Southampton. Don't really know what's going on with Southampton at the moment. They seem to be doing quite well, which is strange. Probably a middling team, to be fair, but then so are Aston Villa. So, yeah, a lot of people are asking about those mid-price midfielders. Like, honestly, save your money. Don't be afraid. Even if you want to take out a Jota or a Greenwood or someone like that, don't be afraid to take them out and replace them with a 6 million midfielder, because there's so much value there in the 6 to 6.5 million bracket that you're better off just banking the cash. If you get the right 6 million to 6.5 million midfielder, they will outscore the 7 million, 7.5 million midfielder anyway. Even 8 million midfielders. There's not really anything above 6.5 really. Above that, there is nothing really that is of too much interest going forward long term. All the way up until your premiums, your Salahs, your I guess Bruno is still interesting, but perhaps not for his price. But yeah, it's a strange one. That this is a reflection of where the game is at right now, and in many ways, it lends itself to some different strategies that I quite like. For example, going for 3 premium players. If you had Ronaldo, Lukaku, and Salah, I think it's possible. I think you can do well. It's not very flexible, but you can do well. It lends itself to going big at the back, spending more money on your defenders, going for a defence of something like Trent Alexander-Arnold, Cancelo, Rudiger, and having all 3 of those big premium, I guess, defenders. I think that is a very, very viable strategy right now as well. I think that's kind of the way we should be looking. There's a couple more game weeks to assess if we're going for a game week 8 wildcard. Of course, guys, I will make videos and stuff for a game week 7 wildcard, because I know a lot of you guys will be wanting to do game week 7 but for your wildcard. But what I would do right now is if you are planning a wildcard, try and think very short term with your transfers. Try and focus on who you think. Well, target the small teams, I guess. And then we'll have a restructure on wildcards, I guess. We'll have a restructure. We'll bring in some big name defenders. We'll see if we can do 3 premiums, but I don't think it's going to be possible. And we'll go Salah in midfield. We won't take him out ever. Never remove Salah. James Craig says, who out, Jota or Torres should I replace first? Yeah, I mean, commiserations to those of you who do have both Jota and Torres, because they're both concerning, I guess. I don't know. Ronaldo captain game week 6? Yeah, absolutely. It's got to be between Ronaldo and Antonio, I think. Those are... I mean, Salah... You can't ignore Salah ever, either. It's going to be a weird one, and it's going to be one of those game weeks next week. This game week wasn't. This game week was, your game week is defined by things outside of your captain. But this following game week 6, is going to be a game week which is defined by your captain choice. So I'm really hoping that I get the right one. Dominic says, I'm currently in top 900k. Is that good? Poor week? Yeah. I don't think there's too much wrong with that. Remember, we're very early days still, and there's so many game weeks left to catch up. So yeah, I wouldn't feel too disappointed if you've not had the best start imaginable. But yeah, you wouldn't want to end the season. Well, it depends. If you're a serious FPL manager, you would be very disappointed if you finished quite that low. I think if you're if you're a very competitive FPL manager, you probably would say, and I'll say this loosely, you probably want to finish in the top 200k as a minimum. Anything outside of that is going to be a huge disappointment. Of course, everyone targets top 100k. I think that's a great goal. A lot of people target 10k. That's becoming a more and more difficult goal as seasons go on. I mean, there's over 8 million players this year. If you can finish 800,000, you are still in the top 10%. It's very nice. If you can finish in top 80k, you're in the top 1% of all FPL players. Madness. Mr. Danny Mack says, will James play? I'm assuming we mean Reece James. If so, you're asking the wrong guy. And for the record, there is no right guy to that question. Chelsea is an absolute mess in terms of rotation. It really is. It's become harder to predict than Man City. It really has. But if you want that nailed on Chelsea defender, go for Rudiger. And that's probably what I'm going to do. Well, no, maybe I even go for both. I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about going for both. We'll see. Spurs look woeful, but Son look lively. Thoughts on getting Son? I don't know. What are Spurs' fixtures? Because I've kind of dismissed Spurs quite a lot because they're not very good. Let's just do a search this way. Kane. What is going on with Kane? Crazy. What are the fixtures like? Aston Villa, Newcastle. Don't know. Yeah, there's not really a really nice run of fixtures. I mean, arguably you'd say that Burnley, Brentford, Norwich, Leeds at home there. Before that as well, game week 12 onwards could be quite nice. Would you want to be taking a Son or ahead of Arsenal, Aston Villa, Newcastle good fixtures, but then West Ham, Man United, Everton don't really know what we're getting at the moment, do we? I don't know. I think if you wanted to get a Spurs player, you'd probably go from game week 12. Spurs attacker, this is, sorry. You'd probably go from game week 12. But they have to show some, not just liveliness, they have to show some very positive signs, which they haven't, quite frankly. They have really, really... I mean, Arsenal were the big meme team, weren't they, at the beginning of the season? But I think it's quickly switched to Spurs. We'll see what happens in game week 6 when the two teams play each other. Who is going to be the banter club? I mean, they're both banter clubs, to be fair. Hey, let's be real. Both Spurs and Arsenal are banter clubs, and I say that as an Arsenal fan. But Battle of the Banters, game week 6, I'm not touching either of them in terms of FPL. Not even thought about it. I really haven't. I mean, other than Ben White. Ben White is the only player from either of those. Well, and Son at the start. Like pre-season, I was thinking about Son as well. But Son and Ben White are the only two players I've even remotely considered from either of those teams, which is shocking to say because this is Arsenal and Spurs. These should be teams that we're really, really having a very close look at in terms of FPL, aren't they? We should be having a really good look at them, but we're not, and neither should we. Neither should be. But there you go. People again talking about Jota, Greenwood. Yeah, Greenwood I think is still a tentative hold, but just purely because I think there's bigger problems that we're all going to have in our teams. That's the only reason I would say if you're on a wild card, Greenwood would probably not make the cut. But if you aren't on a wild card, then we got to think about, is Rafinha going to be injured? Is Jota going to be playing now that Firmino's back? Is Jimenez good enough? Is Bamford good enough? I don't know. Maybe Bamford you probably would stick with, wouldn't you? Are there any other players that you really want to get into your team? As like some Chelsea defenders, perhaps not over the next couple of games. I don't know. Have you got Ronaldo yet? Have you got Salah yet? Have you got Antonio? If you've taken out Antonio, then Greenwood is definitely not a player that you should be thinking about. You should be concentrating on other areas. So it's not that I think if you're in a very, very luxury position where you love your entire team, other than Greenwood, then Greenwood is the guy to transfer out. But I wouldn't imagine there's too many of you in that position. So yeah, for me, certainly Greenwood's a tentative hold. There are other players I think is more important to remove. Rafinha, if he's injured, he would be a priority, but I think he's going to be okay. Jota is very much on the hit list at the moment. He's on the chopping block, which is a shame because he should have got so many points over the last 2 game weeks. The 2 game weeks I've had him for the season, he looked fantastic, like creative, very good goal scoring opportunities, and has ended up with 2 blanks on the bounce. And now I'm going to get rid of him. What a nightmare transfer. One of those things. The luck factor. I still maintain it was a good decision to bring him in, and I think his performances justify why he was a good transfer in. So I'm not gonna beat myself up about transferring in Jota as much as I might beat myself up about transferring in someone like Jimenez, who has been a fail, and maybe I should have been a little bit more cautious about bringing him in. Thought about someone else. Don't know. Giandre says your buy, sell, keep, avoid video is going to be tough. Everyone's asking about Jota, Torres, Greenwood. Well, I mean, I'll try and fit in a couple of those players into those into the buy, sell, keep, avoid categories. That's for sure. We'll try and fit them in. I kind of know where each of them would go if I had to say right now, and I will. Oh, I missed the super chat apparently. If I had to put them all right now, we'd probably be selling a couple of those. Let's just check to see if I missed the super chat as suspected. How much do I have to scroll to find it? That's the question. Can't find it and I am lagging. Yeah, if you can, if you did put a super chat in, let me know who it was, and I'll try and find it. But well, here we go. There we go. Yogesh Rapani says, "Why won't FPL give Bruno that assist?" Well, because it came off the goalkeeper first, didn't it? It wasn't a case of Bruno passing to Ronaldo and Ronaldo scored. It was a case of Bruno passing to Ronaldo, Ronaldo missed, and then Ronaldo scored. So yeah, that's kind of what happened there. Well, it's unfortunate, but Bruno could have got more points. He really could have got more points in that game as well. Again, Bruno owners, you can probably consider yourself a little bit unlucky. You really can. It's all part of the game. We've got to take it. We've got to take it on the chin. Because next week, we might get really lucky. And someone else might get unlucky. Part of the game. The key is to make sure that you're not purely depending on luck throughout 38 game weeks. But yeah, buy, sell, keep, avoid is definitely going to be interesting tomorrow. I'm quite looking forward to this one because there is a lot of moves to be made. Last week, I kind of found myself a little bit short on moves to make. I thought it was a kind of a little bit of a wait and see kind of game week. The only players that I was really keen to get in was Leeds players last game week. For in terms of buys, in terms of other positions, maybe a little bit different, but yeah, it was a weird one because like a player like Tony. If you asked me last week, is Tony a buy, sell, keep, avoid? I would say Tony is a sell, and you could ask 100 experts and they'd say the same thing. I think that was the case. I think the few experts that still had Tony in their team, most of them were selling him because he just didn't look like a good pick, because we thought Wolves were looking good defensively and we're going to keep Brentford out. And then penalties given. Marcel makes a bad challenge, penalties given, and then we've got like an assist as well, across the goal, and Mbumo finishes. So yeah, he pops off. Tony pops off. So yeah, that's part of the fun of FPL, or the frustration of FPL, should I say? It is what it is, isn't it? But yeah, Tony, I feel really sorry for those that literally sold Tony last game week, because that's tough. That really is tough. You should really should not beat yourself up about that move. I maintain that if you sold Tony last game week, you made the right move. I know people will say, well, you didn't make the right move because he got lots of points. It's not how it works. You can't play FPL like that just looking at the points. And by the way, Kovacic is still an avoid. He's still an avoid. I know he got an assist, didn't he, for Kante's goal. But he is still an avoid, and he was an avoid last game week. Yogesh says, any doubles or blanks in sight just yet? No, not just yet. We're probably looking at sort of around early January time for the first double and blank game weeks. We've got a little while. FPL Amateur says your nationality. That would be British, I suppose. That's what it says on my passport. Lax said he bailed me out. I put him on your bench. So some people put Tony on the bench. Imagine Trent Alexander-Arnold isn't starting, and you get Tony off the bench for all those points. This is what I mean. What a weird game week. I saw some people sort of had what was it? Was it something like Livramento on their bench? And Livramento on the bench that had fluked them those was it 5 points in the end that Livramento got for that clean sheet against Man City, and they were praying, because there was rumours, of course, that Benrahma was injured and he wasn't going to be available to play, and they were praying that Benrahma wasn't going to play, and if they had the choice right there, they would have very, very easily removed Benrahma from their team and put in Livramento. If you could make substitutions midway through a game week like you can in Euro Fantasy, they would have done that immediately, and then he scores 10 points. Weird one. Weird one. Oh, I hope we're back to normal next week. I hope just no more injury drama. I can't handle it. Guys. We've got a super chat here. I'll read that out, and then we'll perhaps do some price changes before we log off for the day. Oh, by the way, guys, actually, I'll do the super chat first. Bobby Bourman says, Ronaldo or Vardy for the next 2 game weeks. Also, if I went for Ronaldo, should I replace him with Jimenez, who I only bought in game week 4? Yeah, I would be considering removing Jimenez from your team. The only thing I like is Jimenez sort of plays in Newcastle in game week 7, so that might be kind of nice, but he still hasn't got off the mark. I don't know. I'm really rooting for him in a way, but I don't want to let emotion in the way. Objectively speaking, Jimenez has not been doing the business. He's not got the points, so I don't know. I think Jimenez is okay to remove if you're putting in a Ronaldo. Vardy I probably wouldn't touch because Leicester are just so disappointing this season. Really disappointing. But anyway, I was going to say quickly that just sorry guys that there was no FPL Mate podcast. I know some of you watch it, some of you don't. Weekly video I usually do on a Monday. So yeah, that unfortunately I had to delay the recording because my lovely guest unfortunately was had a last minute unavailability for recording yesterday. But we're going to do it during the week at some point, and that's going to be quite nice. So look forward to that one. We're going to be doing a FPL Mates podcast at some point this week. Should be a good one. Looking forward to that. Someone said this, still ranting and no strategy talk. Honestly, that's the kind of the problem with this game week. I think I kind of have talked a little bit of strategy, not a massive amount, but I think the key messages to take out from this game week is to not base too much of your strategy based on game week 5, because it was there was a lot of variance. There was a lot of variance this game week. In terms of strategy, Jota is probably a player you want to move on because Firmino is going to come back into the side most likely this week, and we need to wait for injuries, confirmation on Trent, on Rafinha, on Ayling, on Bamford, and all kinds of other players. We've strategized that perhaps the game week 8 is almost certainly, and I'm going to say certainly, from my personal position, I think game week 8 is the time to wildcard for me. Yeah, that's how much strategy is in this talk is in this video. There's not going to be always loads and loads to talk about, but yeah, hopefully there was kind of enough. Let's do price changes, guys. I mean, hopefully it was just an entertaining video, because at the end of the day, that's what YouTube's all about. If you're looking for something a bit more dry, then it's probably YouTube is probably not the best place if you just want pure information. That's what I think anyway. So here we go then, guys. Can everyone see that? Hopefully, I know we had some problems last game week. Here is FPL statistics, the place I look for price changes. And how it works is, if a player has over the 100 on their target column, that means they're going to they're likely to rise in price overnight. If they have less than minus 100, then that means they're likely to fall in price overnight. This target score is basically impacted by how many people are transferring in a player and how many people are transferring out a player. So players that rise up in price, of course, are players that are very popular, being brought in by a lot of people. And Alonso, Gray and Livramento constitute those popular players that are being brought in by a lot of FPL managers. There we go. Yeah, Alonso, Gray, Livramento look to be the guys who are going to rise in price tonight. And over the course of the week, we're probably going to see Sanchez go up, Rudiger go up, Cancelo go up, maybe Deli go up. That's fine by me. Benrahma potentially going up at some point this week as well. Jansen is going up, despite the fact he's about to play Liverpool. Mind blowing. And so on and so forth. We can have a look and see who's rising the fastest, and it's Benrahma, Dennis, De Gea. Okay, yeah, that's our casual players helping us out by transferring in De Gea because they think he's going to save a penalty every week. Okay, Lukaku, Gallagher, don't mind that. Kovacic, strange. All kinds though. Cash is a bit of a weird one. But there are some fairly sensible players rising in price there. If we go to I'm going to go this way. Players who are going down in price: Lucas Moura, Amati, Dendonka, Gross, Wilson. You know what? If I can pick up Callum Wilson later on in the season for like 7.2 million, I am all about that. Ashley Barnes, Che Adams, Sambi Lokonga. Who has Sambi Lokonga in the first place for him to now being sold and drop in price? Who? Jeremy says, these damn early birds need to chill with their pre-midweek game transfers. I know, there's midweek games to contend with. There's going to be more injuries and drama, I imagine. It's all the fun of FPL, right? There we go. Einar in the chat says, here's a banger. My worst ever game week. 8 out of his 15 players scored 0 points. Of course, there's Brentford have a tough game run of games now. Yeah, we're gonna find out how good Brentford really are in defence when they play these more difficult teams, aren't we? But yeah, Amarty's probably going to be the one that most of you guys own there. Maybe Danny Ings is looking like he's going to drop down in price. That's been a long time coming, to be fair. Who else is kind of popular of this list? Maybe Harvey Barnes. Has he already had a price drop? Oh, he's already had 2. Oh, well, okay, again, assuming you don't have Harvey Barnes, because if you do, commiserations, but if you don't, if he is sort of 6.7 million or 6.6 million in a few months, maybe Leicester have a really nice run of fixtures and really good run of form, Harvey Barnes at a sort of a 6.6 million is going to be an insane pickup, right? But yeah, there's a load of other players. There's another load of other players. I think we mostly look at the goings up, don't we? But there we go, guys. We have been streaming for an hour, though. We really, really have. So, guys, I'm going to call it a day here. I'm going to go get some food, I think. Make sure you do like the video stream if you did enjoy what you saw today. Hopefully it was an entertaining one, at least. I don't know. Maybe you liked it, maybe you didn't. But yes, thanks so much for watching. I really do appreciate all your support recently. We are closing in on 90,000 subscribers. Hopefully we'll get that this week. We should get that this week, really. And then it's all aboard the train to 100,000 subscribers, which is just madness. So yeah, yeah, subscribe if you're new, of course. But aside from that, guys, thank you so much for watching. Enjoy the midweek games. Enjoy the content this week. Hopefully you had a decent game week. I know I didn't, but I hope a lot of you guys did, and you enjoyed the football and stuff. So yeah, thanks again for watching. I'll see you tomorrow for a buy, sell, keep it all video, but more importantly, I'll see you later, mates. Bye bye.